Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Denise Daly, Staff Liaison for the NC Realtors Appraisal section. Today, we're going to be learning about the top valuation tools for appraisers. But before we get started, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. First, we will be taking live questions via the chat field. Please submit any questions you have for today's speaker there, and they will do their best to address as many as possible. We'll also be recording today, and we'll email a link to the recording to each of you. And now I am honored to welcome today's session host, Peter Gallo, Chair to the NC Realtors Appraisal section, who will kick off today's session for us. Peter, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm going to go ahead and pass everything over to you.
All right, thank you, Denise. So the appraisal section is excited to have two RPR expert trainers with us today. They'll demonstrate how RPR tools can be used to help agents and appraisers in the valuation process. Before we start, I do want to invite today's attendees to join many of your professional colleagues on the NC Realtors Appraiser section. The appraisal section has many membership benefits, and it's practically free for all NC Realtor members. Our most significant benefit is having NC Realtors lobbyists represent us on appraisal issues at both the General Assembly and the North Carolina Appraisal Board. We're kept informed with prompt legislative and regulatory alerts, which is critical to our profession and the work we do every day. So please consider joining the NC Realtors Appraisal section. Our Zoom administrator will provide a link for you to find more information in the chat. Now, to get started with our session, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. Today, we are joined by Janelle Van and Valerie Rivers from Realtors Property Resource, more commonly known as RPR. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate you taking time to walk through some of the valuation tools and RPR with us. I'm going to go ahead and let you both take it from here.
Terrific. Thank you, Peter, so much. It's a pleasure to meet you all and welcome everybody. My name is Janelle Van. I am with RPR, Realtors Property Resource, and for today, we are going to cover the process of creating a CMA and going over all of the valuation tools that can be found within RPR. So hopefully you're excited for this session. We are going to run for about an hour. Joining me today is my good friend and colleague, Valerie Rivers. Hi,
Hello
Valerie.
there. Hi, everyone. Hi. I hope everyone is having a great day. We appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah, Valerie's going to be backing me up. I'm going to go through the processes of the valuation tools and the CMAs. And if you have any questions, Valerie will be here to answer any of those questions that you may have. So feel free to ask in the Q&A, or I guess it's the chat that we're working with today. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Everybody can see my screen. Our class today is called Top RPR Valuation Tools for Agents and Appraisers. So let's go over real quick, what is RPR before we get started. RPR is NAR's technology company. We are a wholly owned subsidiary corporation. We have a national database of parcel-centric property information, including over 166 million US properties. It is an exclusive Realtor benefit. This is not a public facing site, which I get really excited about because this is something exclusive to our Realtors as part of their NAR membership. There is no additional charge. So as long as you are in RPR and you are running searches and doing your research with our data analysis tools, you're never going to get bothered with a pop-up asking you to subscribe or upgrade. This is all inclusive. There are no additional fees for RPR. So take advantage of this great benefit. Like I mentioned before, there is no consumer or public access. One of the questions we get asked all the time, I'm a trainer with RPR, and we sit in on these trainings all the time. And one of the questions we get asked frequently is, why should appraisers or agents use RPR as opposed to one of their other resources? And the short answer is we want you to use all of your resources. RPR is certainly an NAR benefit, but we want you to also use your MLS. We don't want you to ever think of RPR as a competitor with any of these organizations. We just see you as the center, and we want to help you grow your business, conduct your appraisals, whatever the case may be. But we don't want you to think of RPR in competition. We want you to rely on your broker, your community of professionals, real estate agents, appraisers, lenders, home inspectors, whatever the case may be. We just want you to combine all of these resources and make the most out of what you have, the tools that you have. So our agenda today, we are going to search and research properties for comparables. We are working with buyers. Let's move that over there. Working with buyers and sellers. I'm going to show you a couple of different processes. If you are potentially working with a buyer, for my agents that are out there working with a buyer, perhaps you want to run a quick CMA. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to get into the more comprehensive process of creating a CMA structured for a seller or an appraisal, whatever the case may be. We're going to analyze neighborhood sales trends, and we are going to completely create a CMA and a seller's report. And then finally, I'm going to generate a sales comparison analysis and a valuation workbook. And you may be wondering at this point, what is the difference? The sales comparison analysis is what agents are going to be more inclined to use when they're preparing for their CMAs. And a valuation workbook is what they're going to prepare when you are actually applying values to comparable properties. So it's a little bit more comprehensive of a report. So let's talk about a few general terms. We've got our AVMs, which many of you are probably familiar with. That is the automated valuation model. It is an estimate calculated using only the public available information. But within RPR, we have what we call the RVM. That is our Realtors valuation model. This is an estimate calculated using both public available information as well as MLS actives, solds, and off-market property. And I stop here for a second because this is real important, because if you are preparing a CMA, you want to be able to include those properties that have sold maybe by owner. They weren't ever in the MLS. So RPR makes it real easy for you to prepare those type of reports and incorporate that data that may not have made it into the MLS. We find the RVM is the highest accuracy of any valuation product available. So RPR is partnered with 95% of the MLSs across the nation. The data is updated daily, and quite often it is much quicker than the public records updates. All right, so we are going to be focusing on a specific subject property, and you guys can take a second and look at that. We are in Raleigh, North Carolina today. Now I'm in Tampa, Florida, and I love this because it's super easy for me to create a really fun, interesting CMA. And honestly, I've never been to Raleigh, but it does look like a beautiful area. So we're going to be looking at 140 Irene Lane, 3-bedroom, 3 bathrooms. There are 2,133 square feet in this subject property. And the year built was 2012. And the RVM, like I mentioned, that Realtors valuation model came in at $376,560. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shut my camera off so we can focus on the processes. And we're going to take you live and get started with our RPR home site. So let's get back out here to our home page. And I want to show you a few things. Now I've set up my home page with the Raleigh, North Carolina as a My Markets tab. Before I ever launch into any class, I always just like to remind you to go over to the top right if you haven't already done so, and just click on the little down arrow and make sure that your profile is set up. Super easy. Just a quick rundown, get your photo uploaded, get your logo. If your broker's logo is not in there, make sure you reach out to us and we can walk them through the quick and easy steps of getting the brokerage logo set up. And that's important because when you're doing your CMAs, the brokerage logo will appear on the cover. Make sure you've synced up your MLS or CIE information and add your license number and any assistant users that you may be working with. So that's always my first step. Get your profile set up in RPR. Super easy process. All right, let's talk about a few scenarios. First off, I set my Markets tab to Raleigh, North Carolina. And I want to talk to you about perhaps you're an agent and you're working with a buyer and the buyer is interested in a specific property. Well, these are the 167 properties that are relatively new for sale in the Raleigh area. I've already saved a little property down here. Let's click on it. Beautiful house here on Woodcrest Drive. Now, let's just say you're working with a buyer and they're interested in making an offer on this property. You don't know much about it. Where do you begin? Well, you can start right here with viewing the full details. When we click on that, we see the property. And as I scroll down, I have the option here to look at additional photos. It looks like a beautiful tree-lined property, but I can scroll down to the property summary. And you'll notice right off the bat, I have a list price of $624,900, but the RVM is set at $402,880. Now that again stands for the Realtors valuation model. And if you're ever in RPR and you get stumped or you don't remember exactly what that means, just click on the little help bubble and it will explain not only the RVM, what it is, but where the values are generated from. So in this case, if my buyer is interested in making an offer on this $624,000 house and the RVM is at $402,880, perhaps I'm going to have to do a little bit more research and find out why the RVM is so different from the actual list price. So let's go ahead and click on View Details. Real quick, I want to show you that these are the properties that RPR included when creating this RVM. So we see we do have a range here, 350 to 455, and we've got a confidence score of about 4. We can see where the property is located on the map, and we can scroll down and we can see the actives and the closed properties that have been included to create this RVM. So you can see that's a quick and easy way to come up with a reasonable place to start when you're thinking about putting in an offer on this property. We can scroll down here. We can look at the off-market properties that were used to calculate the RVM, as well as recently closed properties. As you can see, this one here just closed, well, it looks like yesterday, as a matter of fact. So you can take a look at that, and it's just a quick way to come up with an idea of where you should begin with the offer phase. So let's go ahead and get out of that. Another thing I want to show you real quick is our interactive map. Very easy. Click on the map, and you'll see the surrounding RVMs for this subject property. Now, this list price is $625, but we notice right next door, the RVM is $249, $253, $263. So we've got a big disparity between our subject property and our surrounding neighborhoods, surrounding properties. So you definitely want to do a little bit of research and try to figure out where do you go from here. So again, you can go ahead and look at the additional photos out front. Another great tool when you're preparing your buyer to make an offer on this property is to go over here to our neighborhood tab. When I click on neighborhood, I'm brought up to a whole bunch more tabs, and I've got my housing tab. If I click on housing, I just want to show you real quick the value of the data that's within RPR. Just by going to this property and clicking on the neighborhood, it takes me to a housing tab, and I can now start to see the median estimated home value, the median list price. Also, 61% are owned in the area, as 39% are rental properties. And when I scroll on down, something very important to keep in mind is the price per square foot of homes sold. Now, this is a real quick and easy way to try to figure out where your offer should be at. You can see the majority of the properties that have sold in the area have gone between $175 to $200 a square foot. So that might be a good starting point when you're creating your market analysis. Also, if you're in here, you can go right over to our school information, and you can click on any of these schools that you're interested in and pull up a complete school report. So the data is very powerful within RPR, as you can see, and that's just one launching point if you are working with a buyer on a potential offer. So we can get out of 5618 Woodcrest Drive, and I'm going to pause for a second and just check the chat, see how we're doing. So I see, excuse me, Kirsten had a great question. How does RVM pull the comps? That's a great question. You can actually see the comparables that were used, but they're going to find like properties, similar in square footage, similar in age, as well as the most recent closed, certainly similar in square footage. You're going to start to see that as the properties, kind of like similar properties when they're pulling up the RVM. Hopefully that answers your question. All right. And Carla asks, can we access this training video to review later? You sure can. It is being recorded, so you should get a copy of that following today's class. All right, so we talked about Woodcrest and we talked about this beautiful property, 624,900. One real quick thing I want to talk to you about. We notice here that this property has a pool. We are working with a buyer in this scenario. We can go in under our refined value tool, click on refined value, and I want to show you a couple of things. I notice right off the bat that my 402,880 does not reflect, let's just say, for instance, my seller, I have noticed in the pictures that there is a brand new remodeled kitchen in this property. I can go in and add for the home improvement category, and I can click on, let's see, major kitchen remodel, and we'll go upscale. And this is a great tool, the refined value tool, when you're working with a customer to try to help educate them on what the value is of their recent enhancements. So let's take a look at a major kitchen remodel. We can add that in here and say it was done in January of 2021. And we ask our customer, what did they spend on it? They said they spent $50,000 on a new kitchen. You'll notice here, it's going to give you a full explanation of what an upscale major kitchen remodel looks like, what it will include. And then we simply go in and click on add. When we go in and add, based on your local market conditions in Raleigh, North Carolina, it did not allow for a $50,000 upgraded value. It added $25,327. That's what the market value is for an upscale kitchen in this area. So if we go over here to our top right, we notice that 402 just changed $25,000 and now it's up to $428,000. One more thing I want to show you as we scroll down. This works also if you are working with a seller and you're trying to come up with a list price and they tell you that they need to do some upgrades to this property, you can actually type in a refined value upgrade that is needed. Say, for instance, new carpet in bedrooms, and the total cost is going to be $5,000. You can go ahead and click on add, and it's going to subtract $5,000 from the RVM. So let me scroll back up here. We see our refined value is now at $423,207. Another quick step I love to show is refined value based on market and home conditions, because I don't know about you folks, I'm down here in Tampa Bay. It's super cold today, but the housing market is hot. It is just absolutely a bidding war on every property that comes on the market. So we can adjust based on local market conditions. We can just toggle this guy over here and make it hot. Home exterior condition, we see that it's got a beautiful pool. We can say superior here. And the interior condition, we don't know yet. We can leave that alone. And the rest of these we can leave as equal. And when we go up to the top and look at our refined value now, it's up to $452,507. So you can adjust this by adjusting the basic facts of the property. And I wanted to take you back out here. One more thing I wanted to show you before I move on. When I notice in my summary, I'm looking at this property on Woodcrest, I can also verify square footage, and I can compare this to recent sales, previous listings. When I scroll down here to the bottom right, I can see the historical records for the property, and I can compare the historical records. And if I notice anything is different, say for instance, look at the square footage. The square footage in the public record says 2552. But the listing facts say it's 2746. So I can use my historical records and try to analyze the subject property and compare the data. When I click on that, I see here that the public record again is 2552, but the active listing says 2746. So are we all good there? Everybody got a good handle on this? So one thing, I see a question coming in through the chat, and I talked about the neighborhood price per square foot. Let's go back out here to the neighborhood again. I go to housing. And then I scroll down at the very bottom, and I find that average price per square foot again was right at between it looks like 175 to 200. So maybe I'm going to use $180 a square foot. That's a good measure when you're adjusting for comparable properties with different square footage. So if you're pulling in a comp that is significantly higher or lower than your subject property, you may want to use this calculation price per square foot to adjust the comparable accordingly. Hopefully that all makes sense. So the data is key, whether you're an appraiser or you're an agent. Doing your research, you will find a tremendous amount of data within the RPR platform. All right, so let's get back out here. And I want to begin the process of creating a CMA. Now, I mentioned my subject property earlier. Let's go ahead and find that guy. It is going to be 140 Irene Court. Oops, nope, it's Lane. Sorry about that. Type that in. All right, and there's my subject property. So now what I did just now before I gave you a quick overview of how to do a very cursory glance if you are working with a buyer making an offer. But now we're going to use a scenario where you've been called out to a listing presentation. And on this property, it's 140 Irene Lane. We've got the option here to look at our historical photos. We can also look at the overhead view of this property. First thing I notice is there's a pool on Irene Lane. I can also go to my historical photos and I can see the 13 photos from previous listings. Scroll through, looks like a pretty nice home. And I can also scroll down and look at my RVM. Now, this is a great place to start, right? If I'm going on a listing appointment, good place to start is with my RVM, 376,560. I can always view my details. And when I view the details, I can see the properties that have been pulled in to create this RVM. I can also see my RVM range is between 350,201 and 402,919. And when I scroll down, I see this is the subject property, recently closed properties that were used to calculate this RVM. I notice right here, half a mile away from our subject property, this house on Line Drive closed in January, and there's the sales price. And there's my 180 a square foot, which is consistent with what I saw when I pulled up my neighborhood charts. So I see this house is 2190 square feet. Somebody in the chat asked me earlier, how does RPR pull these properties? Like I mentioned, this is a pretty darn comparable house, right? 2190 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, pretty much lines up perfectly. So it's a great comp. Then we've got some off-market properties that were used to calculate the RVM. And you can kind of take a look at these different properties. You've got your close price, you've got your estimated value. Also, remember I mentioned not every house sells in the MLS, and RPR does a great job of pulling in properties that sold without being in the MLS. You've got here this Natalie Drive listing, or Natalie Drive property that sold. It's 0.27 miles away from the property, and it just closed a couple of weeks ago, pretty close in square footage, and so has an estimated value of $399. So that's just one quick way to look at the RVM. Now, a couple of things I want to show you before I start creating my CMA is to look at my interactive map. Always start with my map. And I mentioned earlier, you can see all of the surrounding RVMs. You see the next door neighbor is $399. And then over here, you got $416. You got this big old piece of property for $447. So it's a good place to start. Really great to know that you're close to a cul-de-sac here. And a lot of times you can see if you're backing up to a golf course or maybe some wooded lots or ponds, things of that nature. So you got all the RVMs for the surrounding houses. I think that's a very powerful tool for our agents and our appraisers. All right, so let's take a look at our summary real quick. I want to do a quick comparison. I see I have 2333 square feet. I see my RVM estimated range at 350 to 403. And I've got a 5-star confidence rating. That's very good. It doesn't get better than 5 stars. I can see the month change, up $4,700 since last month. I can see the last sold price was 2018, but super important. I want to go in here and I want to do a comparison on the historical records of this property. And I'm looking for something very specific. So if I compare historical records, I am going to see that the public records for this property shows the square footage to be 2133, but the last listing, it was 2150. So in this market, every little bit helps. I'm going to make that change to my CMA. As I'm preparing for my CMA process, I'm going to calculate. First, I'm going to assume that you are going to confirm these facts, but we're going to use this 2150 as we begin our CMA process. So what we're going to do here is scroll back up, take a look at our refined value tool. Let's take a look at our refined value. All right, so let's see what happens when I change just this square footage. We see I've got a 376, 560 refined value. Just real quick, I'm going to just update these facts. I'm changing the living area square footage and I'm going to hit apply. And look at that, it automatically adjusted my refined value up $3,400. So pretty good stuff. Now, remember we talked about upgrades. Maybe my customer has called me out on a listing appointment and they told me they just redid their bathroom. I'm going to click on bathroom remodel, upscale, ask them when did they finish that, and they'll say January of 2021. And the good old question is, how much did you pay for it? We'll say $30,000 for this brand new bathroom, all modern and beautiful. Well, we're going to go ahead and add and see how much of this $30,000 cost is going to be adjusted. We'll go ahead and click add. And now we're up $395 to $49. So we've jumped up significantly, $18,000, almost $19,000 just by making a few adjustments. We're going to scroll down here. And let's say we're going on this listing appointment. And again, they say the house needs garage doors. We can add a cost of, I don't know what garage doors cost in your area, but I'll add $5,000 for garage doors. We're going to add that. And like I said, a cost is a cost. So when we look at our refined value tool, it's going to go to $390 to $49. Now we're going to make a quick adjustment for our local market conditions. We know it's hot, so we're going to drag this guy over there. The condition looks pretty nice. I'm going to go with superior. It's got the pool, it's got a pretty big yard, and it's on a cul-de-sac. So we'll go ahead and drag that guy over there, and we'll leave the rest of these the same, and we'll see what we're at. Now we're at 424, 482. Pretty exciting, just by making a few moderate changes to what we know about the subject property. So what do you guys think about that? And so Kirsten says, you know, it really, she says, is that adjustment of 25,347 comparable to what an appraiser would actually use specific to our areas? You know, it should be. It's always great to be aligned with a local appraiser that can answer those questions for you. If I ask the question to my audience in Tampa, what do you think it would cost to build a pool? In Tampa, a brand new pool can cost anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 now. So it really does matter what the cost is of an upgrade, but also just align yourself with a local appraiser, get to know them, make friends, so you can bounce ideas and exchange information. Hopefully that will help. All right, so that's a quick way to do our refined value. Let's go ahead. We can reset our values right here, or we can go ahead and create a report, but we're going to get into the more comprehensive CMA now, the CMA portion of our class. All right, so what we've got, oh, I have one more thing I want to show you. Let me go back. I get too excited here. Now, if you're going on a listing appointment, you don't want to bring out this picture from the street view. Make sure you always upload a current photo for your market analysis. And I'll show you how to do that real quick. We can go over here to photos, click on photos, add photos, and we'll just say this house is what it looks like now, brand new front exterior. And we're going to make sure we use this as our report cover. So make sure I click it, and I'm going to say save. And now my brand new, freshly polished photography will appear on my CMA or whatever reports that you are running for this property. Let's take a look at our property facts. We've already changed it to 2150 on our square footage. We can scroll down to property facts and make any other adjustments that we need to right here, super easy. And then scrolling on down, you can also gather school information as well. All right, let's go back to our CMA. So you have two options when you're building your comparative analysis. You've got your comparative analysis or your sales comparative analysis. And I'm going to explain the difference, but if you forget, simply go over to RPR and make sure you click on what's the difference, and it gives you a nice tutorial and explanation as to what the difference. The short answer is your comparative analysis is more commonly used by agents. It's a simple, quick, and easy way to pull comps, make slight adjustments to them, and build a CMA. The sales comparison analysis, which is what I'm going to build. I'm going to build them both, but I'm going to start with the sales comparison analysis. It is a more detailed property evaluation, similar to what an appraiser might conduct. The key difference is between the workflows is the extent to which the property and the comparable information can be adjusted by the user. So in long story short, it's a more in-depth analysis, the sales comparison analysis. So you have options to use both. Good news is you don't have to run the comparables twice. You could do these reports and build it from the same comparable. So that's kind of a cool feature. All right, so let's go ahead and start off. It's a 5-step process. We're going to go ahead and confirm the facts. First, make sure we're selected sales comparison analysis. And we're going to confirm our facts. And this is an important step, right? Because we want to make sure our bedrooms and our bathrooms are accurate. We got 2.5 bathrooms. We've got 2 full baths and 1 partial. That's good news. I've already gone ahead and adjusted the square footage. It was 2133. We know public records sometimes can be wrong. So we go ahead and make that change right here, 2150. And scrolling on down, I also want to make sure I add that there is a pool, because I know I saw a pool on the property. We're going to go ahead and click yes and include that as part of our valuation. Here's our year built. We don't need to change that. Next up, all we're going to do is confirm our facts and close. All right, so we did that. We've confirmed the facts, and we can't really move on until we confirm our facts and close that out. Now we're going to begin the process of searching for comparables. Go ahead over here and find comps. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. The system is going to automatically default to active, pending, and closed. It's going to default to the property style, which is single family. And it's going to default to the last 6 months. Now, it's up to you. I tend to change this up, and I go in the last 3 months. But you can even type in a specific date range if you'd like. And of course, you've got your active, pending, and closed. You can also include withdrawn or expired listings if you'd like to do so as well. We can just scroll down here and see the price range is between 250 and 500. We'll leave that alone. Our square footage area is between 1,600 square feet and 27. You see how the system just automatically defaulted to all of that based on what the public records data is. And then we just simply click on search. All right, so there we go. We got 6 recently sold properties that we can see first on the map. If you notice, the little gray box shows that they are, oops, I lost my way there. We've got the gray box is closed. The blue box means recently closed. So just a slight difference there. You can see these properties on the map. You can see where they are in relationship to our subject property. This is all great information to include in your market valuation or your CMA. Then we just simply go down here and our 6 properties decide which ones we want to include as comps. Certainly, I want to use the ones that are closest in square footage. So we'll grab this guy here. We'll go ahead and add this one. We'll grab this guy here. And we'll pull in this one, and let's say, why not one more, 2269, and we'll just leave this guy out. It's a little bit smaller, 1689, built in 1984. So we've got some good comparables that we can include. I also have one pending property to be included. Now that's problematic because if I'm building a CMA, if I'm going on a listing appointment, I need to show my future home seller what their competition is. And we didn't find any actives based on our preliminary search. So we need to go back out there and dig for them. So we're going to go ahead and update this valuation and close. And I'm going to show you real quick how to add. We have 5 comparables. We're going to go ahead and edit this and add some more. We need to find some actives. So let's go ahead and modify our search. Hopefully you guys are able to see my screen okay. I'm going to change it from pending, closed, withdrawn, and expired. And I'm just going to search for active listings. I see where my subject property is. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm simply looking for active properties. I'm going to go ahead and draw a shape. I'm going to use my radius tool. I'm going to drag it out here, and I'm going to go out a little bit further. I'm going to go out as far as 3 miles and see what I can find. Let's get back out there. That's pretty good. Search in this area. Now look what I found. I found 6 properties. Let's zoom out a little bit. I found 6 properties that are active. Some are coming soon. That's unique. I don't have those coming soons in Tampa Bay, but you folks do. You can see what is coming soon or what is actively listing just by extending our radius area. We had to go out a little bit further, but at least now we can educate our customer on what their active inventory competition looks like. So we're just going to go ahead and add these to our CMA here. We'll go ahead and click on these. This one's active for sale. And let's find, and this guy here is about 1941. We'll go ahead and use that one. 2.5 miles away, 2 miles away on Sunset View. This one is coming soon, 1779. So we can go ahead and include that too. We just go down here and update the valuation and close. Now we have a good set of data. In my mind, we have a really good set to work with. We've got 10 comparables, we've got several actives, several solds, and 1 pending. So we're going to go in here now and make our adjustments. When we adjust our comps, the first thing I like to do is make sure that I order these in order of actives versus sold. I like to put the actives first. So I'm going to go find my actives, click over here to next. And I'm going to put this guy here on Jordan Ridge in first position. And I'm going to put this one here that's active in second position. And then I'll go in and put this one on in third position. And now I need to go ahead and start making some adjustments. So we've got, let's make sure I've got my solds are all, we'll put this, we'll get this guy here in fourth position so that all my actives are right up front. All right, so we can go ahead and start making our adjustments based on what we know about our competition and also about our recently sold properties. All right, so let's take a look. We can make actual adjustments to our comparables. Let's take a first look here at Jordan Ridge. Do we notice anything different? I see here that my subject property has 2.5 baths and the comparable on Jordan Ridge has only 2 baths. So I might want to adjust here for the missing bathroom. So I don't know what you would give for a bathroom in that area, but I'm going to go ahead and add $5,000 to this property to make it equal to my subject property. We can go ahead down here and see if there's any square footage difference. This is pretty darn close. You can make your adjustments here. You can subtract the difference and multiply it by 180 square feet and come up with a figure to pop in here. For instance, we've got, this one is at 1941 square feet. Let's see, it's about a 300 square feet. Real quick, we'll do a quick calculation. We've got 1941, 2150. $209 square feet times about 180. So we can just go ahead and add 37,000 to this property and make it more comparable to our subject property. Does that make sense? All I did was found the difference in the square footage between this subject property and this comparable, and I adjusted based on the lower square footage. How are we doing in the chat? Yes, Timothy says, can we change the comparables that are used? Can we pick our own active, pending, and sold comps? Yes, you absolutely can. You can adjust this anyway. I did it kind of the quick way, where I just went in and did a map search, but you are going to want to analyze how to add your own comparables or remove them if they are not suitable for this CMA. All right, so let's scroll on down here. We can see if we need to make any more adjustments. We can also include any notes. For here, we can go ahead and type in square footage was different. And then we can decide if we want to include this note in your reports. Totally up to you. So do you all see how we can make these adjustments within the sales comparison analysis? Here we've got 3 full baths on this property here on Bent Oak. So that's obviously a little bit better than what we've got for our subject property. We can go ahead and subtract for that. We'll just go ahead and take out $5,000 for that property. And that's basically how you are going to make your adjustments within the sales comparison analysis. We'll go up here to our next tab. And we can go through here, and maybe we see this property here and we don't think it's a good property to include. We want to eliminate it from our CMA. We just simply click the X right there and it will go away. It'll be gone. So it will easily either be added or removed to your CMA. Bedrooms, baths looks good here. Let's see, any other discrepancies that I see that are major? I showed you how to adjust for the square footage. Oh, here's a good one. Pool. We know our subject property has a pool. This property here on Mark Lane does not. So again, I ask you, what is the average price of a pool in Raleigh, North Carolina? I know in Tampa, it's going to cost about, I'm going to be honest, it's going to cost about $70,000 to build a pool. So I'm going to pop in that number and let it make the adjustment for me there. All right. So another thing I want to show you is you have the ability to adjust your comp weightings. You can go ahead and edit. Say, for instance, I want to adjust the weighting of this comparable up or down. I have the option to manually adjust these comps, or I can click on auto weight. When I click on auto weight, it's going to do the work for me. So you could either weight it all equally, weight all of the comps equally. You can do the auto weight, which I like to do, or you can go in and really customize this on your own, the way you'd like it, and you weight the way you want to weight these different comps. So we can go ahead and apply and close. We can update our valuation and close. And now we can go ahead and review our sales comparison analysis. Remember, we started off not really knowing where to begin. This property is not on the market. We are trying to find out what we are going to list this property for. You have the option here to enter in a specific value. You see the range was 252 to 445. You can enter a value, or you can simply choose to remove that completely and leave it blank. It's up to you how you want to do it. But if you're going on a listing appointment and the closest active listing is about 2.5 miles away, you might want to maybe put in a little bit higher than the average price, because the inventory is so low. So you notice the range here was 252 to 445. We can go in and maybe type in 439, and we can go ahead and hit save. And then from there, we can go ahead and create our report. Now, if you want to start all over, you just simply go down here to clear all and start over. All right, so let's see. Let me take a moment, look at the chat. Frank said, good to know if railroad tracks are on the other side of the trees. That's true. These aerial views are very, very helpful. I also like to know what, is there a major highway backing up to the property? Is there, a golf course? All of these things can really affect the value of the property. Let's see, do user refinements on the property that they are focused on get stored in RPR? That is a great question, Peter. No, they don't. It's for the agents only, or the appraisers, whoever is using the platform. That's for your eyes only. It doesn't affect the property at all. It's just your work. It's going to be maintained under your work. All right, so let's take a look at our report. If I go in to create my report, I've actually already created a report earlier on this subject property, and that's what it's going to look like. There is my beautiful valuation workbook for Irene Lane in Raleigh, North Carolina. Remember, I already uploaded my own fancy photo. There's my resume. I like to always include a resume if I'm going on a listing appointment. And this is what the valuation workbook will look like. It's going to give me the results of my sales comparison analysis. It's going to have a range. It's going to show the number of comparables that were chosen, and of course the comps range. Now, all of these documents you can choose to include or exclude when you're running your report, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. When we scroll down, we can see any refinements that we made to our subject property. Remember, I made an adjustment here based on the square footage. I went from 2133 to 2150, and I included the fact that there is a pool on this property. Scrolling on down, I can see the previous photos of the property when before it was listed. And when I go down here a little bit further, I can start to see all of the legal data, property history, tax assessed values, and things of that nature. When I scroll down, I want to get you to the comps page. Now, this is where on my valuation workbook, I can show my customer exactly which comparables I used and where they are in relation to their property. So there we go. And then they've got a nice side-by-side view as well. Now, obviously, we don't have time for me to go in and make adjustments to every comparable, but I just wanted to show you a few scenarios in which you could. We added for a house that did not have a pool to make it comparable to Irene Lane. So that's just a great valuation workbook, is a great tool if you are working with a potential listing, or maybe you're even working with a buyer and you want to run a comprehensive CMA before they present their offer. You can see here we made some adjustments to the Spent Oak property, and it shows us what the adjustments were. We adjusted for the $10,000 based on the bathroom, and the percentage was 2.22%. And again, you also have the option to adjust the weighted version of the comps. All right, so let's see, how did I get there? When I created my report, clicked on create report, it's going to take me to valuation workbook. Now, this is approximately 74 pages. You probably do not need 74 pages when you're going on a listing presentation. You may want to go in and adjust this number. So you've got the ability here to add or remove documents. You can add custom pages right here. You can see if you want to include a net sheet or your resume or maybe past client testimonials. Simply click on Manage Custom Pages, and you can go ahead and add from here. And those pages will always appear on your reports. And then from here, just go through each and every one of these and take a look at the documents that you want to include in your report. Home facts is a real important one. You've got map layers. Maybe you don't want to include all of these different map layers. You certainly want to include your comp analysis summaries. And I always like to include my map where the comparables are on the map. But maybe you don't need 74 pages. So go through each one of them, check them out, and see which pages are most relevant to you. Always take a look at our RPR and our data. If you click on that right down here, it's going to take you to a page which will explain to you where RPR gathers their data from and how often it is updated. So it's a really great resource if you're just kind of new to RPR and you want to get more familiar with our data. All right, so that was our valuation.
Hey, Janelle, this is Valerie. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we did have a specific question about how to suppress the RVM on the reports. So if you could scroll down a little bit more on that report option and just show where there is an option to check or uncheck the box that talks about suppressing the RVM. If you can go down a little bit further. There you go. Keep going down. Keep going
Oh,
down.
there it is.
There you go, there.
Oh,
See in those
thank you.
boxes right there, I forget the person who asked this specific question, but there was a question about that. So this is where you can choose, if you do not want to show that RVM value on your report that you're going to give to a client, you can choose to suppress that.
There you go. Thank you, Val.
Sure
All right.
thing.
Yes. So that's how you do that. Yeah, a lot of, honestly, in my professional career, I never fill in an estimated value prior to going out on a listing appointment. I've been in real estate for 30 years. Everybody has a different school of thought. I prefer to come up with an estimated value while I'm in the property and I'm actually walking and touring and getting a sense of what the house really feels like inside. So you can suppress the estimated value. Just click on that at the very bottom of the page. Are we all good there? Hope that helps. All right, let's move on. Let's go back out to our quick and easy seller's report. Let's get back out to Irene Lane. Now, again, I know I have a lot of appraisers in my class today. So really want you to take note of first of all, the history of the property. If you're researching and you want to look at the sales and financing activity, there is a tremendous amount of research that you can do before you ever start to approach the appraisal. You can see the prior sales transactions. You can also scroll down and find mortgage records. See right there at the very bottom. And of course, we know the most recent filing of the mortgage was in 2021, and we got our homeowner's name and the mortgage data. If we go back up here, I mentioned earlier, we can go into our neighborhood tab and run an analysis on everything we need to know about this neighborhood. It's a very powerful tool, whether you're an agent working with a buyer or a seller, you're just trying to educate yourself, spend some time getting to know the neighborhood, especially before you go on a listing appointment. All right, let's go back over to our CMA tool and just show you really quick how to do the more condensed version. We did the sales comparison analysis. We went in, we confirmed the facts, we found our comps, we actually eliminated a few comps. So now it's down to 8. We made a few adjustments and we went ahead and then ran our report. So let's go ahead and just see what the comparative analysis looks like. Of course, you can always click on what's the difference. Just remember that the comparative analysis helps agents generate a price range for a property by integrating comps and market information with knowledge of the property and the neighborhood. So it's just a less comprehensive approach. You don't have quite the adjustment functionality that you would in the sales comparative analysis. But you do have to go through the same steps. You don't have to go searching for comps again, but you do have to confirm the facts. All right, we already adjusted the square footage and we added for the pool. So all we have to do now is simply confirm the facts and close. And now it says here, find comps. Go ahead, click on it and look at that. It says, do you want to copy the comps you chose for this property for your sales comparison analysis? Why not, right? I've already done some of the work. Let's go ahead and click yes. And then we can go ahead and adjust our comps. Now, this is going to look quite a bit different than what we just did in our sales comparison analysis. You'll notice right off the bat, we don't have that comprehensive valuation workbook. We have a shorter version, I guess is the best way to say, where we can make quick and easy adjustments to our comparables. So they're already in order, active, pendings, and solds. I'd already rearranged those. So now it's as simple as looking here and saying, this house here is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,038 square feet. So it's a little bit smaller and it has no pool. So I'm going to go up here and I'm just going to toggle this little guy right over here. I'm going to say this house is worse. This is not as good as my Irene Lane. I'm going to do the same thing for Bent Oak. Is it same, worse, or better? We've got 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, 2,400 square feet, and we scroll on down. And it does not look like we have a pool. So no pool here. So we're going to go ahead and say it is not quite as good. Maybe a little bit bigger, but still the pool is worth something. So we're going to go ahead and toggle this guy down. And that's going to just give us a quick way to adjust the comparables for our quick CMA. And we can do this across the board for all of our comparable properties. Go over to the next property. I see this fella here closed in December, 214 a square foot, closed for 427, half a mile away, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And let's see, do we have a pool? No pool. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing again. We're just going to drag it over here and say it's a little bit worse. Super easy. Then we just simply go down to the bottom, update our valuation and close. And we've got a 410,838 estimated value based on our new comp analysis. And all we do here is go ahead and create our report. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like. A little bit different version. This is our seller's report. Again, I've got my photo, my resume, and my value range of properties, and also my CMA and some other valuable information such as the AARP livability index. So I am right about out of time here. We got about 5 minutes. Let me see if I can answer any more questions before our class is over. Are we doing okay, Val? Is there any, are there any, I see this chat is, I'm scrolling through, holy cow, you've 80 messages.
Yeah, we've had a very active group today. I was just actually going to respond. Somebody was asking about, I think, a specific comp that had been selected. It might be that, this is really just for demonstration purposes. So maybe a particular comp that was selected in someone's professional judgment might not have been the best comp to use, but it was really just meant to be for demonstration purposes, to show you how you can select comps and how you can adjust the value of the comps based on the selections that you have made.
Right. It was just a demonstration. So if we were in the sales comparison analysis, obviously we only have an hour to demonstrate the functionality, but you're going to want to do a much more in-depth analysis on your comparables. So if we go in here and we edit our comps, we see something in here we don't like, we can just take it out. We don't have to keep it here. It's not the hard and fast solution, but this is just a quick way to get your CMA off and running. So you can easily remove comps, select them as you want, and get rid of them. Does that make sense?
Right, and we do have some questions, I think, asking about specific values. And then I think somebody did ask if there's an appraiser who can provide a list of maybe some values for adjustments. That's a great idea. That obviously that can vary on a local level. So reaching out to an appraiser at the local level for some of that guidance might be helpful.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really hard because when I teach these classes in Tampa, I always ask, well, what do you think a pool costs? And I'll get people will respond and say 15,000. And well, we know we can't build a pool for 15,000. So you really have to know your local market and know what price per square foot is going for and what the average cost of certain upgrades and how to add for value or take away. Hopefully that helps. How are we doing there, Val?
I am reading through some of the questions. Just a minute, just trying to catch up on some of them.
Okay, Bob says $50 a square foot is the typical adjustment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody else is asking for a list of values. We don't at RPR have a list of values, but I think from a local standpoint, that might be something that appraisers could provide. Our refinements, I think I did put this in the chat, our estimated values of improvements and needed improvements are based on data that we get from Zonda, and it is drilled down to at a regional level, but an appraiser at the local level might be able to provide more detail on that.
Right. And Frank said appraisers rely on closed sales for final values. Absolutely. I wanted to incorporate for the agents that were in the class, how they would approach going on a listing appointment as well, not just exclusive appraisal tools, just also for the agents that were listening in. If they're building a CMA, it is important to include active listings as well. So that's why I did that.
Right. And that the option on the RPR tool is that you can pick and choose which statuses are most appropriate for the specific situation.
All right. Well, I think we're right at 2 o'clock.
I think so. We appreciate everybody's input, and we appreciate the opportunity to present to you today.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the webinar and reach out to us or take some of our other classes. We have some national webinars and would love to share with you some of our other resources within RPR. But thank you for having us, Peter. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it's
Denise,
great.
Rachel.
It's great to have you guys, and I didn't want to jump in. I'm an appraiser, but I didn't want to jump in, and we're going to actually be having an Ask an Appraiser. The tentative date's June 22nd. So actually, Vic Knight and Dave Costner are two of our panelists that were on today. So hope everybody that's on today will come back June 22nd to see us and ask those same questions. Remember, this is a tool. RPR is a tool. And like Janelle said, you know, you have to go to the property and feel the property, see the property to be able to come back. And then you use a tool like this to help you organize your thoughts and help you with presentations to your buyers and sellers. And to the appraiser, it's a great tool to work up information and provide to the appraiser when they come and to visit the property for their appraisal. So, but thank you, Janelle and Valerie, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here with us today and helping us better understand some of the best practices in RPR related to the appraisal process. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and have a great day.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Take care, everyone.